Hello and welcome to the Neurodivergent Show with me, Imo Folami. The Neurodivergent Show is where we discuss all things OCD, all things Autism Spectrum, all things ADHD, all things dyslexia. Here we celebrate those that are different. By different, we mean those that are born uniquely, and I'll explain more as I get into the show. Today, show is very personal for me, not just for me, my husband as well. He will be joining us shortly. We're going to be sharing what it feels like, how our lives as being raising neurodivergent kids. If you joined us last week, my husband and I, we shared, he talked about his own neurodivergent journey as OCD, and I also shared what it felt or what it feels like daily to live with someone who's got OCD, who's neurodivergent. But today is all about raising children, raising our kids that are different. And over the years, I've had people ask me different questions. I'll start with one of them. One of them is when exactly did I find out my kids were neurodivergent? Now, before I had my kids, I I kind of, I've seen things, I've had people say things, but about, people being having ADHD or being autistic or having OCD and just being different. Like, this I hear these days, these kids are just different. All of them are just different. Why? What's going on? But I never paid so much attention to it until I had my kids. And I think I kind of always knew my kids were neurodivergent. Many people say they didn't know until they were three, they didn't know their kids are different. I kind of feel like I always knew. Well, acceptance, that one I did not do on time, but I kind of always knew. I have twin boys. When they were 7 months, I noticed that one of them wasn't making a lot of eye contact. And I'm like, that is very concerning. And when they got to 1 year, they weren't using their words as much. They weren't pointing. Kids usually, when they want something, they'd point. My kids would take you to the place, to what they want. If they want biscuit, instead of them saying biscuit, they'll hold your hands and take you there. And so I'm wondering, why wouldn't you use your words? And then it was 1.5, it was 2. I was noticing, I'm like, these kids are different. And so would ask around and ask people and say, hey, have you noticed this about your kids too? Or have you seen kids that do this and that? And they'd say, yeah, we know kids that like that. We know kids that do things like that. Don't worry, just give them time. Give them time. They'll outgrow all those things. And so we said, okay, let's give them time to grow. And so now they're 2.5, and I'm like, no, something is going on. And I started researching and learning and saying that I really I cannot keep just assuming or thinking that everything is okay. I mean, it's not. I can see that they're different. With me today is my husband is also going to come share his neurodivergent story. I told you I started noticing as little as 7 months. My husband, the love of my life, he was here last week. Shout out to our own Mr. Producer, Tolulokwe Falami. Is my husband, my love, my after Jesus, my everything. Welcome to the show, and thank you for taking out time to be a part of this and share a part of yourself with the world.
It's good to be back. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday to everyone.
Okay, so if you're here and you're live with us, can you go ahead and give us a thumbs up, please? And also would like you to drop something in the just leave a comment and say hi, say hello, leave your contribution just in case you have a kid that's got that is neurodivergent, diagnosed or undiagnosed. They're just different, and you've noticed that they are different. ADHD, autism, OCD, whatever, they are different. We want you to contribute to the show. We want to share as parents. We want to share, those that are in this thing. And if not, if you've seen somebody or know somebody that is neurodivergent, go ahead and contribute and leave your comments. But in the meantime, you can just say hi. Would like to know that we're not alone, that you're here and we're together. Okay, so I just shared now, I said when did I find out? I said I found out as little as they were 7 months. When did you notice our twins were neurodivergent?
So, of course, you will know from, I knew from around the same time as well, because of course, being around other kids and you see what other kids were doing, the milestones that they
Mm,
were reaching, and you know that your kids are not, especially when you have other parents around you telling you, oh, my baby said mama today, my baby said dada today, and you're not seeing the same thing, from your kids. And one unique thing about the kids were they were also picky eaters as well, which
yes.
means they were not eating at all. So they had selected food that they were eating.
Mm,
So again, that was different from other folks that they were saying, the kids were already eating, solid food.
mm,
I remember my kids; they were still taking Similac, Cerelac
right.
to were like 3, 4, and that was like their favorite food. And we spoke to their doctor, and the doctor said, okay, that's the only thing they eat. We just have to keep them on it.
And
And
Pediasure,
huh?
you forgot Pediasure.
Yeah, Pediasure. Yeah, Pediasure. Pediasure too was the thing, and we were told that we had to keep them. And actually, we did that homework ourselves, actually, for pediatrician, not the doctor, actually,
Yes.
because we were like, okay, these kids cannot continue to take Similac and Cerelac that are meant for 9 months old. They can continue to take it at 2, 3 years old. So we did some research, and we heard what other parents were talking about online in regards to, okay, my kids don't eat at all. I started using Pediasure, and that helped them a lot. So we implemented that, where we brought in Pediasure, and that way we were able to take the Similac, Cerelac away from them, replacing that with Pediasure, and they took it. So that was a good thing for us.
Right.
And so from there, just noticing little things about them. But one thing I'll tell you for sure is, even though at that point in time they were not talking, they could spell,
Right. They could read.
so
They,
they could read. So that was fascinating to us,
yes.
because again, we didn't know what neurodivergence means. We've not seen this before. We it was confusing, where we're like, okay, these kids will see things on TV and they will just blot it out the way it is, and they will not even stammer or anything. They will just tell you, you know, serendipity, even words that I can even say. My kids can tell you serendipity at 2 years old, fox. They could say things like that, but they couldn't talk. And and we noticed from the early age. But again, um, more story. I'm gonna share more story, but let me go back to emo right now. So
All right. Thank you
yeah.
for sharing that. We have a few people saying hi to us. Let me take this out. Say hi. Hi, Clary. Clary is saying hi. Hi, Clary. Kate is saying hi. Hi, Kate. Sarah is saying hello. Thank you, guys. If you're here live with us, please say hi to us so that we can know that you're here. We can give you a shout out as well. And would also like you to contribute to the show. Let us know your neurodivergence experience. And when we mean neurodivergent, we're not saying that your kid is already labeled. But if you grew up, or if your kid grew up just being different, like if you have two, three kids and you notice that one is different, share your story. Let's know how different your kid was, and maybe some of the things you did that's been helpful. Just being different, and how what you did, how you've been coping, how they are doing right now, how they are faring. Would like to hear from you. And if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do go ahead and do so right now. Please do go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Like, comment, help us help the channel grow. Thank you. So my husband and I were here discussing our kids, raising neurodivergent kids. And my husband just mentioned a few things we noticed. The kids were picky eater. And it wasn't like they were, some people like, you don't train your kids to eat. This wasn't about not training your kids to eat. This one was, my kids will sit on the table. And if you give them something, they will throw it out if they don't want to eat it. It's not about, many people are quick to judge as, oh, home training, this, that. I mean, if you have a kid that eats just fine, be thankful, and don't judge other parents, because we know what we went through. Just getting our kids to eat, would get everything and buy everything and try different methods, but at some point we had to love them, and we had to give them what was healthy for them, trying to balance it. My husband also talked about, we mentioned picky eater. We mentioned that they could not talk. We mentioned that they could read, though. They were doing certain things that was a little bit advanced. For instance, they could just, our kids would see something and they can solve it on the spot. Like they had this critical thinking going on. Like you didn't even have to tell them. And then, and then one of the things we also noticed is they were so smart. Like right from when they were little, they were two, they knew their colors, they knew their numbers. Like when you're teaching them, although they wouldn't like, it takes them a little bit to get them to pay attention, but they know the stuff. It's like all you have to do is teach them one time. They have very good memory, very beautiful mind. They can retain things. You tell them something, they remember like 3 days, 4 days after. And then they knew they were good with their schoolwork. They were exceptional. And so, that was helpful in that way. So these are the things we noticed about our kids. So if you're out there and, you're listening and your kids exhibiting stuff like this, please know that you're not alone. There's so many parents out there. Our kids also were the same. And, we'll talk more as we go. Okay, sir. So I have another question here. Okay, we've answered when did you find out that your kids are different. I think the other question I had was, okay, we had Sarah say hello. The other question I have was, would be, how did you feel? I'll start with you, babe. How did you feel when you realized, like, oh my God, my kids are actually different? How did that make you feel?
Actually, I was okay with that. And if you remember, actually, because I put myself, maybe because the way I grew up, because I could see myself in them in terms of everything different, because I was different growing up too. So when, they were saying, okay, they had this delay, that delay, they're not eating, I just smiled and laughed about it because at the end of the day, that was me right there growing up. And I'm still a picky eater. I don't even eat at all. I hardly eat, and I still do that. Growing up, all I ate is I took a bottle of orange soda, which is Fanta.
Fanta.
Nigerians will know Fanta orange
Uh-huh.
and plantain. That's all I ate. I don't eat anything else. If you give me anything, I will not take it. Then my go food was just eating cookies and waffles. That's it. Cookies and waffles. That's all I ate growing up. Nothing else. You
Mm.
give me anything, rice, not I'm not gonna take it from you. So that was me growing up. And when I saw that in my kids and everything, I wasn't worried at all. I wasn't worried at all. Even though people around us, my wife includes, sometimes there's some nights that she'll be crying and everything. I just smiled because I knew my kids were gonna be okay. Even though, yes, I could see it, I could see that they were not talking. It didn't really bother me because I used to be that different person, that it even till now it takes me time to I ate math because I'll tell you right, I cannot add. I'm not even gonna shy away from that. I can't add, you know. Yeah. I'm not a school person. So if you take me to school, you're just gonna waste your money. So I'm that person that basically you give me a paper, a note to read. I could read it 4 times and not still understand. You know what? It looks Arabic. I just start putting all the words that just collides together, and maybe the next morning it will make sense. And I had to develop a system where every book, every note, everything that is in word form, I downloaded a software where I had to convert it to word, where someone is reading it to me. So through that, I'm able to absorb and learn that way. So That's me right there. So when I saw that with the kids and everything, I wasn't worried because I knew they were gonna be fine. If I could be fine, they were gonna be fine. So I wasn't worried at all with the kids.
I think acceptance came very easy for you than it did for me. When it dawned on me that my twins are different, like when I started like really, really, like it just was glaring. I couldn't like pretend anymore. I think for me, it was, I wouldn't lie, it was so many feelings. First of all, I had a time where I kept blaming myself. I kept thinking it was something I did, it was something I ate, it was what I did when I was pregnant, it was vaccines I took. I just I just went to these different phases and I would cry. Sometimes I'd feel like I was the reason for it. I'd feel like I failed them, like there was something. I'm so sorry. I feel like there was something else I could have done, and maybe it was my fault. And I'd go through that phase and cry and ask God, not directly ask him why, but just like, it didn't really have to be this way. I I went through that phase of, it was just mixed feelings. It was mixed feelings and I blamed myself a lot. I did. I think it's a mom thing. And I guess for every parent, when you have a kid, you know, you have this idea of what your kid should be like. So you have like, you've already, your mind, your kid is going to be so perfect, so perfect. That's what you have in your mind. But then you have these kids and they're not perfect. And you sometimes I think you have to mourn the not perfect child. And I think I was doing that in my own way. I was trying to give up you know, the perfect idea I had, like, the way the kids were supposed to. And I needed that. And I think once I got through that phase, it was a little bit better. And when I mean they are not perfect, I'm not, that was my thoughts then. My thinking now is absolutely different. My kids are the most precious, the most perfect things in the world. But then, when it all started and when I was still trying to sort through my feelings, I kind of felt that way, you know. And so I think if you're a mother and you're going through that, I think it's totally valid though. It is valid because parents, no one, like, the way no one prepares you for this. No one prepares you for a kid that's got ADHD. Nothing prepares you for a kid that's got autism. All you're prepared for is to raise a perfect kid. You know the kid will cause you problems and stuff, but you're prepared. Like in your mind, you're going to raise a kid. You already have plans. My kid is going to become a doctor or this or that. And then it's like, oh my God, maybe, you know. And so I went through that phase. I also went through. Oh, Sarah here. Sarah has a question. Sarah says, were you ever in denial at any point, or did you always know and accept immediately that they were neurodivergent? No, I was in denial for so long. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm sniffing right now. I was in denial for so long. I think I was in denial for about 3 years. I knew they were different. I kind of always knew they were different, really. But I just felt like, their difference was, maybe a phase, just I really didn't take it like, oh my God, this is something, this is like neurodivergence. This is their life. I felt like it was a phase. I felt like, things, and then I hung on to hope and stuff like that. So yes, I was in denial. I think my husband has been graceful from day one and he's helped me through my own acceptance journey. Because my husband, you like, it was just, he never saw anything. It was just like they're fine. And it's more like they're fine. I think I was even faulting him for accepting so fast than I did. Because I'm like, are you not seeing this? You're supposed to see this. Look at them. They are not talking. Look at other kids and all. And it's like they're fine. They're okay. And I think that helped me, just the way he loves the kid and accept them. He didn't even care. He didn't even bother him. And so his own acceptance came before my own. And I don't ever think my husband was, I think, is babe, let me not speak for you. Were you ever in denial? Sarah is asking, were you ever in denial at any point, or did you always know and accept immediately that the kids are neurodivergent?
So the word neurodivergence never came because I didn't even know what that is until recently, neurodivergence. But I was never in denial of, okay, this is because as a parent, you could tell that, okay, my kid is different. And again, me growing up personally helped me through that easily, where I just knew they're going to be fine. Because at the end of the day, when you are a praying parent, when you're a praying parent, that matters a lot. When you're a prayerful parent, because at the end of the day, you communicate with God, again, not trying to be too spiritual. And I just know they're going to be fine. Even I'm fine because I look at myself, trust me, and I look at where I am today, and it's not about my smartness, what I know, how I read the book, going to college. Trust me, I failed a lot in college. You have no clue. My wife even knows. She makes fun of me with that. I failed a lot in college. So it's not about that. But at the end of the day, the favor of the Lord has kept me to now, and I've surpassed my expectation. And it's not by, God, is God just using man, God using things around, you know. And that was the same way I felt about the kids, that they will be fine. And I remember very well, the school called us, and they were trying to diagnose, and the kid, and the psychologist said something about the kids, and you could have seen me jump on the phone, you know. And the next day they had to call a committee to apologize to us that that's not what they meant, because you know you saying this about my kid, I'm not going to take that line down. I'm going to get in your face. So if you want to say something, say it to my face. And it's not going to go down well, because I don't see them that way, because I know they're going to be fine. It's not about whether they can talk. My kids are going to, if it's now or later, they're going to talk and they'll be fine. But it's not denial, it's just what I know. So,
All right, super dad. Yeah, and that is my husband. I promise you, he's not saying this is who he is. This is how he lives his life, and he's a man of faith. And this is him. This is him. This is how he sees. This is how he lives his life. He doesn't worry. He doesn't fret. He just feels like everything will work out. And he says, if I could have turned out well, then they will turn out well, and everything will be okay. You have so many fans here. Sarah says, thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry that sorry for the little tear there. I'm trying to clear up everything so we can have more space. No, it's this one. Give me one quick second. So, Mo Aina says, your idea of a perfect kid. Yes. Your idea of a perfect kid. Kids are not, like, it doesn't even matter. You're not going to have a perfect kid anyway. Now, when you have a neurodivergent kid, that's a different ballgame entirely. Um, Clary Akinyi says it's always hard resisting comparing your kids to other kids their age. Absolutely. It's always hard. We don't right now we have grown, my husband and I, we have grown so much. We hardly do that. But then, I think it's just a parent thing. Really, you cannot fault people sometimes, you have different phases you have to get through to get to where you need to be. Kit is giving us a big hug. Thank you, Kit. If you're here and you're live with us, please go ahead and leave your comments, leave your contribution. If you haven't subscribed, please do so right now. Don't say you do it after the show. Do it right now and give us a thumbs up as well. Thank you so much for your contribution. Moaino says, is such an amazing daddy. Absolutely is. Is such an amazing daddy. Is the best thing that ever happened to our twins. Okay, so right now we have discussed the how it all started. We discussed the process, the acceptance phase, and before we what we did before we got to where we are right now. Let's also discuss some of the strengths of kids that are different, because I feel like many times it's very easy to miss the strength of neurodivergent kids, because all we are looking at is the things they are not doing. But
mhm.
there's so many things they are doing. There's so many things that they are doing that we tend to close our eyes to, because what the world would celebrate, like the kind of things, the milestone. Oh my God, I really have a problem with that milestone kids must attain at every point, because it limits kids. When you get to the hospital and they say red flags of autism, red flags of ADHD, that's 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 something I hope we can address as a society, because what that does for parents is it just makes you, when you say red flag in my own understanding means danger, right? So when you say I should watch out for red flags of autism and my kids are exhibiting such time, you're already telling me like there is danger. So already there is all that fear. Oh my God, my kid is not meeting this developmental milestone, and that and this and that, and you end up losing what your kid is doing, because the problem is on that list they won't put so many advanced things. So right now we are working on, or all we are looking at are the things the kids are not doing. We're looking at their deficiencies, we're looking at their weaknesses, but there's so many things that we are closing they're like, our eyes, we're closing it to. And we'll mention some of the strength of our kids. And the reason we're saying that is I hope you as a parent also can begin to take note of not only listening to people, but also listening to your kid and just seeing them for who they are and beginning to love them, trust them, help them, just accept them for who they are. Our own twin boys could not talk, but they could read. They could not like follow instructions, but when it comes to schoolwork, second to none. When they were in kinder, pre-K, they were already doing third grade work, like in school. When we have PTAs, their teachers, like, I have no problem with the twins. When it comes to schoolwork, forget it. They are way ahead. There's certain things they do. They puzzles, these, that, they got it. When it comes to their mind, they're so beautiful. They have photogenic memory. They can remember some of the things you've said. If you tell my kid, if you promise him something, if you promise the twins something, forget it. They are going to remind you 3 weeks after. That's how sharp and how bright their mind is. Babe, can you go ahead and talk about some of the strength of our kids? And let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate the goodness. Let's celebrate, those things.
So with the kids, you've said it all with their strengths and what they can do in terms of just that technical know-how, that being street smart. So that is Jason and Jesse for you. I can say more. The thing is, don't show them anything, because just know that they're going to go back. Like we buy toys for them. They are so technical that they want to know what works in the toy. They want to know what makes that car move. And trust me, they're going to take it apart and figure that out, what makes it move, you know. And it is as good as, these kids. Basically, we have to we when we set their timetable for them, we set a timetable for them, and we make promises that we can keep, because they will hold you to it. They will hold you to honesty. And we don't even tell them about what we want to do. For example, if you're going maybe like a family vacation, just forget about. We don't tell them until a day before, because they will remind you every day what you said. Mom, you said this. Dad, you said this, and they expect you to fulfill it. And if you don't, that's a disappointment. And we mentioned something the last episode, that you know that they keep us honest, and that's what we meant, because we watch the way we do things around them, because they pick those things from us. Words will say, things will say, the way we do things, because their mind is that sharp. Yes, they can't really talk, they can't really express their but again, they do things. They know how to do things. They do things that are beyond their age. And it's amazing
Yeah.
when you see this, and when you see what their future could be like. It's just the sky's the limit for them. So that's why when I see them, I'm not worried, because they say words that I'm like, okay. you know quite art. They say things like quite art. They say things.
Yeah.
They say big words. You know that I'm like, okay, great. I'm glad. You know, it's just mind blowing. You
What
know.
our kids is they're so pure, like they're so believing. Like this is not just oh kids are naturally believing. If you tell our kids something right now, they absolutely believe you. Like they do. They don't like question you when you that's it. They are very honest and they feel like every other person is honest. So in a way, when you said our kids keep us honest and very accountable, it is true because left to them, white is white and black is black. And so when you tell them something, they absolutely believe it. And when they tell you something, it is the truth. They are very honest, very honest. They don't lie. They don't it's a beautiful thing, their mind, how pure it is, how innocent, how just beautiful and transparent and godly. I see it as godly. It's like the mind of Jesus. It's just so pure, their mind, and I really really love that about them. It's so beautiful to just see them, to just see that trust. They're so trusting, so believing, and that is beautiful. So right now we want to talk about our spiritual journey. Because my own spiritual journey got me here. It actually got me to, that's how the show started. God was so patient with me. God made me, the process for me personally, because I have this, my relationship with God is very special, and that is his relationship with me as well. So when I had my kids, I kind of knew that God was up to something spiritually, but then I'm human as well. So I have that human feelings that come, and you know how the devil can be messing with your mind and so many things like that. So I feel like even from pregnancy, this is the honest truth. I don't think I've ever told you this, babe. I feel like from honesty, God had prepared me for the kids, but I wasn't listening. I wasn't paying attention. I just felt like maybe I was hearing things and I was, you know, and so they're one, they're two. And God was actually helping me. He wanted me to see something, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't. And so they're two, they're three. And so my prayer would be, oh God, please let them talk. Let them, all the signs they're showing, God this, God that, God that. And God didn't chastise me, as beautiful as He is. He just let me be, because I think it felt like I needed to be human at that point. I needed to, with the help of the Holy Spirit, I needed to digest, I needed to understand, and I needed to get out of it. And so they are four and they are almost five. And God is like, okay, you have to leave this place. I want you to see something. Are you ready? And I'm like, what is it, Jesus? And Jesus says, you see, newsflash, the kids I gave you, I'm not going to change them because there is absolutely nothing wrong with them. I created them like this for my purpose. And I've been waiting for you to get to this place a long time ago. You're either going to get there today or you're going to get there in 20 years. But the kids that I've given you are perfect. This is who they are. This is how I made them. I am a God of diversity. I like difference. I made them like this. They are not like every kid. And the moment you take your eyes away from every kid and focus on the blessings I've given you, the better life would be. And when I started accepting and letting my kids be my kids and stop worrying, stop looking everywhere, just focus on Jesus and focus on my kids. I tell you, my life has been so much better. Now I'm loving my kids every moment. I accept them for who they are. I'm not trying to let them change, let them move. I am trusting God, listening to God. Like, God, okay, what do I need to do at this time? Where do I need to be at this time? I'm loving them, accepting them, trusting the God in them, trusting the God that has created them to use them for His purpose on how He's created them. So that is my spiritual journey in a nutshell. Babe, I don't know if you have something to add.
So, spiritually, again, is just me just understanding that where God will take you to in life, you will get there no matter your deficiencies. That's me. And I'm a believer. I'm from a school of thought of like it's not about the school you've gone to, because in my lifetime I've seen people, you know, 4.0 GPA and everything. At the end of the day, they are nowhere to be found, you know. And at the end of the day, where you will get to, God will take you there. And when I see my kids and Jason from when he was 1 years old, he will pick up the iPad and listen to my pastor in church for hours. And he still does that till now, where he listens to our pastor, preach and everything. And when you see that, you just know that God is taking them
Amen.
to somewhere. I look at the other one, listens to Tope Alabi, listens to Benga Kifenwa, listen to
Yes.
Dunsi Oyakon, listen to, Taylor Crew while he's playing his drums. And, when you see that, you can't just but say that, okay,
Yes.
you know what? I'm just giving them to God. I have nothing to
Yeah.
worry about at this point in time. Because when you see what God is doing in their life at that early age, where they're sold out to God, they are sold out.
Yes.
And I'm not just saying that these kids are listening to any song. If you play any other song for them, they are not going to listen to it.
Yes.
They're going to tell you to change the song. They want to listen to that gospel music, and they want to,
You go to church
and
every
I'm
day.
telling you, they want to go to first service and second service, and they go to one service. You want to take them out of the church?
Yeah.
No way. You have to stay for second, just because of them. So when I see that, that's the end of discussion for me. I don't even have anything to worry about their future, because their future is already set already. Because I can see that God, as like my wife said, they were created for a purpose, right? And when we look at our lives as human beings, how can we share, how can we share salvation with other people? How can we share that God is good? How can we share that, this is who I used to be,
Yes.
if you don't have that thing that God is going to show himself in? So that's how I see it. So when I look at these kids, and when I see what, I can't even see what, because what God is going to use them for is far greater than what we can see. But I can see where, my kids will climb on that pulpit one day preaching the word, and they will let people know this is how I used to be when I was young, but
Amen.
I am who I am by the grace of the Lord.
Amen.
So I believe in that so much, I don't even bother myself. I don't worry about them at all. When the kids are somewhere, Jason and Jesse are quiet, I can guarantee you they're listening to Pastor Rocco Tucson. I
Yeah.
can guarantee you that. So, yeah.
They love their
I
pastor
can,
so much. They're the kids
they love their pastor, so I can't even argue with
out
that.
and listen to someone. Like, really? I'm like,
Yeah,
I should be thankful, right? They just sit
yeah, they're
down. My
listening.
twins are just listening to Pastor. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like, really? Like, do you want the cartoon? They're like, no, no. And they're listening to sermons, and they're listening to Pastor, and they're listening to anything Jesus. They want music, African music. That's what they're drumming to, and they can listen to that for hours. And I'm so thankful. Let's take some of the comments we have here. Hi, Han. She's also a super mom. She says, that's very true. Thank you. Big words that you, as the adult, have to check the dictionary for. Sarah, absolutely. You get it. They just blot it out. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Okay. Absolutely true. Claria Akinye says, Mo Aino says, in his beauty and likeness. Absolutely. If you're joining us, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and say hi to us. Please go ahead and subscribe. This is the Neurodivergent Show, and I'm here with my husband today. We're discussing raising neurodivergent kids, and we appreciate your contribution. Go ahead and keep it coming. If you've had experiences with this, your kid being different, doing things how the kid is right now, or just anything you'd like to share, please say hi to us. Please share, please contribute. And we will be opening the phone lines right now so that you can also contribute. Remember, you can call in to just say hi. You can call in to let us know what you think. If you have somebody that's been in this position before, or somebody, or an advice you have for parents out there, please call in and make sure you share. Temitope Aka, I think, says hello. Hello, Temitope. Welcome to the Neurodivergent Show. We are so glad you could join us today. The calling number, I'm going to be putting it on the screen, is 817-935-8734. That's 817-935-8734. Please go ahead and give us a call if you have questions, concerns, comments, contributions. We would like to take them. We're discussing we're discussing raising neurodivergent children, and I was just going to throw this in there. If you're a parent and your kids or your kid or kids are different, one of the best things that you can do for yourself is accept that kid. In the place of acceptance, I tell you, you're going to feel such peace, such joy, such happiness. And if you're a Christian, you're going to feel all that in the Holy Ghost. I tell you, I'm living my happiest life, my most peaceful life, ever since I accepted and chose to begin to love my kids for who they are. I tell you, the things that used to make me so worried, like, oh my God, they are not doing this now. My husband and I, we just laugh. We are laughing. We're like, oh my God, neurodivergent. Okay, do your thing. And there's such peace. There is that tense. Now, when, usually when you go outside and some people are asking your kids questions that they cannot answer and stuff, before you feel embarrassed. I don't feel embarrassed now. I just smile, and I just love my kids. I accept my kids, and there is such happy. Even in the kids' life, you can see there is we're not trying to force them and say, you must do this, you must talk, you must use your sentences, you must use your words, you must do. No, we're not. We love them. We accept them. We challenge them, which brings us to our next topic, what we're going to be discussing now. It's all about challenging your kid. And I am a believer in challenging your neurodivergent kid. I am. Because they've got so much potential. And you as a parent, you're going to be the first person to see that and help bring that out in them. For me, I knew my kids weren't talking on time, but I knew their mind was very brilliant. And so help me God, I was going to help them with that mind. I was going to make sure I made sure that I did everything for them. And so right from when they were little, I think about 2, I started teaching them. Oh my God, I would challenge my kids. I know, and I told them, I know you can do it. You can do it. And I would challenge them. Oh, I didn't come with my folder. We had a folder. I would teach them. We'll do our colors, our this, our that. I'm teaching them. They could read, but they couldn't talk. So I'd write things down for them so that they can start reading it. I'm looking at some of the things that they can do, and I'm helping them, not forcing them now. Please hear me out. Not forcing them. Because let me tell you the difference between neurotypical kid and neurodivergent kid, and where misplace of punishment comes in. You cannot hit a neurodivergent kid for not talking. You should not force a neurodivergent kid for not talking. I made a mistake once, and I'm never going to make that mistake again. I got a call from school one day, and I was told my kids were not sitting. They were all over the place and all. And so when they came, I was going to discipline them, and I disciplined them. I spanked them. I was like, you have to sit, you have to that. And it's something I will not do now. That is not a good punishment. That is actually abuse for a neurodivergent kid. Because you see, a neurodivergent kid, like my own kid, has not been wired to sit for long. And in knowing that now and accepting it, I'm teaching them how to. I'm challenging them how to, not beating them to or forcing them to. Babe, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to help us understand, the difference between challenging a neurodivergent kid. Also, when punishment becomes an abuse for a neurodivergent kid, because you have to understand, when you're dealing with neurodivergent kid, their mind is different. Their brains wired differently. So challenging them, yes, but there's certain punishments that you shouldn't be giving a neurodivergent kid. I do not know if you can expatiate on that some more.
Yeah, so basically, it's just being a constructive punishment, if you want to put it that way, not just any type of punishment, because they are structured people. Their minds are
Call
structured.
have a caller
So,
first. We have a caller.
okay,
Hello and welcome to the Neurodivergent Show. Would you like to tell us your name and where you're calling from? Uh-oh, we lost that caller. Please try and call us back. We would like to have you on the show. I'm sorry about that, babe. You can go on. Oh, we have a caller. Hold on, let's see. Hello, this is the Neurodivergent Show. What would you like to state your name and where you're calling from?
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm calling from Dallas, Texas.
Hi, Sarah,
Um,
Texas.
Hi. You raised a really important topic. I was typing, but I was like, it's too long to type. I'm sorry, son in the background.
Yeah,
I was like, so let me call in. The topic when you said about, giving them challenges and I just realized even as a parent, even with children that are not neurodivergent, it's so easy to be like enablers and help them do everything and like, oh, they're trying to reach for something and you see they're struggling or it's challenging for them and you want to do it for them. And talk less of a child that is neurodivergent because in your mind, you think that they need that extra help or that extra assistance. And then we end up like almost like disabling them from doing things and being able to push themselves and get to their full potential because we want to help them, we don't want to stress them. And so it's just such an important topic that even with kids that are not neurodivergent and you have to pay extra help and extra attention to kids that are neurodivergent, that you do not want to disable them from reaching their full potential. You still want to let them, and I saw something on either Instagram or TikTok one day, and it's just like you have to let your kids do dangerous things dangerously, carefully. You let them do those dangerous things, let them climb on that ledge, but you're watching for their safety. You're there to guide them and enable them not to fall. But I just think like that topic is just so important, and especially you just have to keep an eye on it for kids that are neurodivergent, not to disable them from doing stuff and reaching their full potential. And then, like you said, just giving them challenges, things that can push them and help them get to their full potential. That's what I wanted to say.
that is so, so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I've actually learned more from you right now. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We really
just
appreciate you. Do you have more?
just
Um, um,
yeah, yeah, just to touch on that, Sarah says something very important right now.
yes.
And I love to use a sport illustration, and we can relate this to different sports: basketball, soccer, American football,
Thank you.
baseball. You can relate that to it, which is for every team that goes on the pitch, they have a weakness. There's no team that is all around the best. There are weaknesses, but a team works on what makes them good and they continue to work on that thing, that at the end of the day, that becomes the strength for their weakness.
Right.
There used to be a soccer team called Barcelona. Barcelona, basically, they are very good at their attacking.
Mm,
And that's when you hear a lot of people say attack is the best form of defense.
right.
They are talking about Barcelona. Barcelona basically didn't have the best defenders to defend their goal, but they had attackers that by the time they attack you, you can't even come back to their defense to try to attack them because you're busy trying to deal with the attacker. So the same thing with these kids, which is they have strengths. Instead of focusing on weaknesses, let's build the strengths.
Yes.
Let's don't If your kid doesn't like football, don't try to force them because other kids are playing football. Please don't do that. Your kid could love something else. Build them to be a master
Yes.
of what they're good in. And of course, while doing that, try to branch out to other things that accompanies that thing they are good at.
Right.
And that's how you get the best out of them.
Yes.
So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And parents that have kids that are neurodivergent, please, you have to challenge your kid. There are certain things your kids may be exceptional at, good at. Own in on that. Like drill on that. We have some people that all they want to do is play football, soccer. If that's the thing, if that's what your kid's good at, then let your kid continue to do that. Especially for kids with ADHD and stuff. If you have kids that are autistic and they can do mathematics in their dreams, they can put them in competitions, challenge them, let that math just keep owning in on that math, keep owning in on that spelling bee. If that's what, if spelling is what they do. And then even the little things also are important. Like Sarah said, we shouldn't treat neurodivergent kids like they're handicapped. Let
Mhm.
them be able to do certain things for themselves. Sometimes they will fall, sometimes they will fail. We'll be at the background watching them, not forcing them, just helping them, just guiding them. Let them see their strength and guide them in that light. You don't have to reach out for them. There's certain things we're also learning. We let our kids sometimes just sit back down instead of helping them, because it's just easier to just help them do it. Instead of helping them do it, just sit back, relax, and let them figure it out. And that's going to be helpful, especially for the neurodivergent kid. Also, remember not to force the kid, right? Because there's certain things that you can do that can come as abuse, like I was saying earlier. Do not force your neurodivergent kid. Help them, guide them, teach them, but love them for who they are, accept them and guide them in that light. Babe, what has the emotional journey been like for you? We've discussed spiritual journey. What has it been for you emotionally?
Nothing. I
Yeah,
could-
exactly right.
yeah, nothing because again, right from day one, I knew what I was dealing with as a father, and I was ready to deal with that. And emotionally, you can say that thinking about how to help them,
Yeah,
of course, takes a toll because at that point in time, you're trying to think three steps ahead of the kids, trying to see how you can help them, blast, how you can help them be the best at what they do. What else can I add to this? Because I was still talking to my wife about self-defense. As much as, of
yeah,
course, you know, we try to protect them. I want my kids to be able to protect themselves as well.
right.
So very soon they're going to be joining self-defense. So that way, as much because of course, as much as you want to protect them, they still go to schools, and it's not everyone that is open-minded. And I want my kids to be able to protect themselves. So I would do that for them. So emotionally, those are things you think about that, okay, how can I prepare my kids for the world? How can I prepare them for out there? Because it's not everybody that is accepting. But again, I want my kids to be able to stand by themselves and defend themselves if need be. So those are those kind of emotional things, of course, as a father, that you think about that, okay, I can't be there at all times, but I want my kids to be self-sufficient. So
And just by the way, though, many neurodivergent kids compared to neurotypical kids are, there's a huge chance if you're looking at who's going to be bullied more, a neurodivergent
mhm,
kid has more chance of being bullied than a neurotypical kid, because when they go out there in class and all, they are different and their peers don't understand it. And so what they don't understand scares them. And so they in
mhm.
turn start picking on the kids and bullying the neurodivergent kid. So I think self defense is very important for every neurodivergent kid, teaching them how to protect themselves and all. For me, emotionally, it's been a roller coaster. I had dark days, I had bright days, I was hopeful. It's just been like all kind of emotions going on back and forth. But I think right now where I am is I'm at a place of peace. And I can tell you this is the best place to be. Just a place of peace, a place of contentment, a place of joy, a place of trust in the Lord, a place of acceptance. And I'm thankful for that. I'm going to say this though. If you're not here yet, wherever you are is a valid place. For instance, if you're just starting your neurodivergence journey, your kid is 1, your kid is 2, and you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling helpless, hopeless, it's okay. It's all a part of it. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep believing in God. You will get to a place where it's just joy and happiness and trust in the Lord. And when you get to that place, I tell you, it's almost like the perfect place to be. We want to say a big thank you to everyone that has been a part of our show. We thank Clary, we thank Kate, Sarah for calling in. Thank you for your contribution. We thank Moino, we thank Nia, we thank Temi Tokwe, everyone that has been a part of our show. Even if you didn't leave a comment, thank you for being a part of our show. I want to especially thank my husband. Oh, you're such a blessing. Thank you so much for not many fathers can do this. I do not take you for granted at all. I know this is not something African men will do. So I thank you so much for being just a godsend for me, for the kids, and the world entirely. Thank you for being a part of our show. Thank you for producing. Is our producer extraordinary? He's always behind the scene, making sure everything. Just before the show, you should have seen him running around and stuff. I love you so much, my husband. Thank you. I want to hug you right now, but I cannot because there's something in between. But thank you. I love you.
Love it.
We want to say a big
Thank you.
our children as well for giving us the grace. I know they did not completely consent, but we want to thank them also for being able to share their story. And we hope somehow this has impacted you, blessed you in some way. Please let's keep the comments and the contribution going even after the show. You can ask questions. I'll be able to go back and answer your question. Okay. This is the Neurodivergent Show. We're here 7 p.m. Fridays. Remember, we're live 7 p.m. Fridays. We talk about everything ADHD, autism spectrum, OCD, dyslexia. We would like you to make a date with us next week, Friday. In the meantime, please subscribe if you haven't done so. Please do that right now. Give us a thumbs up, okay? Just hit the like button. And until next week, when I come your way again, maybe with my husband if he agrees. I don't think
I'm there.
it's very private. But thank you so much. Until next time when we come your next week Friday, until next week Friday when we come your way again, have yourself a great weekend. Bye bye.